there's an algebra to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like an equation. So if there's a wound, there's a wounding moment, which we talked about in the last episode. There's a wounding moment. There comes an agreement that comes along with that wounding, which leads to a vow, which is an I always or I never statement.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the equation.
With God, there is always more. More love, more life, more freedom. Welcome to Zoweh's Exploring More with Michael Thompson. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Our Heavenly Father has provided many delightful ends for us along our journey, but He takes great care to see that we do not mistake any of them for home." Join me and the team as we explore the kingdom together, discovering the deep truths and offering encouragement for the journey. There is always more.
Welcome to the Exploring More podcast. Michael Thompson hanging out with S.J. Jennings, and we are hanging out with healing, talking about healing. Part 2 in this.
Talked about the wound last time.
Yeah.
And we honestly didn't plan on taking the whole episode to talk about the wound, but it just felt like it was that important as we were going.
Well, I want you to, just in our opening thoughts, I'm asking, talk about the legality.
Yeah.
Of healing and its relationship to wounding. Because I think when we get rolling in this episode, I think we want to offer some of the ways to get free, and how healing is a critical piece to that. But there's a way things work.
Exactly. So, and I definitely want to point, any new listeners, new watchers to some of our older episodes where we talk about the two realms and the two kingdoms, the spiritual realm, the physical realm. There's a war going on in the heavenlies, and it's over your heart. Your heart's central to this whole thing. So there's a way things work. There's a legality of the kingdom, and we have to do our part. And when it comes to this, there's an algebra to it. It's kind of like an equation. So if there's a wound, there's a wounding moment, which we talked about in the last episode. There's a wounding moment. There comes an agreement that comes along with that wounding, which leads to a vow, which is an I always or I never statement.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the equation. So if you understand the equation, the wound, the agreement, and the vow, wound equals agreement plus vow. Well, then how do you solve for that?
Yeah.
You cancel it out. You zero it out.
Yeah.
And you trace it back sometimes through the wound, the vow, the agreement, and then you find the wound, and you can go to God for healing with that. But we have to break these vows that we've made.
That we made.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we signed
because
for.
Because we made them. Nobody, we signed for them. There was a delivery package of a wound, a wounding message.
Some force behind it.
But then we decide, I'm on my own. The world is unjust. If it is to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
I can't trust men. I can't trust women.
I'll never
be alone again.
Yeah.
I'll never not represent myself. All of those statements that we make about ourselves and regarding the things that happen to us have to be undone.
Yeah. And there's a legality to it. There's a kingdom of darkness that uses those files, uses those.
They have access to them.
We say this all the time. What you believe matters. Mm-hmm. It has authority in your life. So when you're told once or every day, you're an idiot.
Yep.
You make an agreement with, I'm an idiot.
I must be.
I must be an idiot.
Yeah.
I do stupid things. I am an idiot.
Telling me that.
Yeah. I'll never try.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll show you. I'll prove to you. And you make delinquents out of that, and you make valedictorians out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why this is really important to look at healing that brings the freedom. So I think SJ, where that whole idea, that equation, that algebra you just talked about, where that comforts me in a little bit of an agitating way, by the way, is that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
That explains a lot.
Mm-hmm. And I don't even like algebra, right? But it explains a lot.
And in times when I was younger, I wasn't in control of what was happening to me.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge when you're 6, 8, 14, and they're getting divorced, or they're fighting again, or he comes home drunk, or she doesn't come home, or how do you, as a young heart, navigate that without the help of somebody who can bring love and care? Grandparents, somebody. If nobody really came in to help you interpret that, you might as well give an 8-year-old a sharp knife and say, "Hey, run around the house."
Yeah, yeah, with the knife right in front of your face.
You are really setting someone up
for
the mess.
Yeah,
and so the legality part is so important, because if you can step away and see that there's an order, that the kingdom of darkness isn't cheating, they're not playing against. They are within the rules that God has established, and if love is the greatest thing, then the perversion of it is the worst thing.
Yeah.
And it leaves image bearers with some level of pain, of hurt, of being missed, all of that.
And not to make light of it in any way, shape, or form, man, but it's football season. I'm a football guy. I'm going to use this metaphor, okay? It's like we've been thrown out onto the field, and the Minnesota Vikings defense is out there, and I don't even know what a football is. That's how most of us play.
And I'm supposed to play. Yeah.
And that's the way I played for years.
Yeah.
So it's so important to have an understanding of the context of not the game that we're in, but the life that we're living, the realm that we're in.
And as men, SJ, I think we're done a huge disservice and dishonored even in the church message of, just, man, get your crap together.
Yeah. Just read your Bible more.
Do better, and stop doing that. Mm-hmm. And all the things that,
which is all we got when we were kids,
are kind of down here at the behavior.
Yeah.
Treating the behavior.
Oh, dude.
Now I like some Advil from time to time.
Yeah.
But when it's a strained bicep tendon,
right. Advil's not
I have
help.
to do physical therapy. And it's not fun, but it's the way to strengthen that beyond what the body's even done to repair it. And I'm talking about really, that's a story of mine since last March.
Yeah, the withered rope.
Yes. Old rope. The orthopedic said there's new rope and old rope, and you got old rope.
Your tendon's like an old rope.
Thanks. I'm 59, and
I've been using it a while.
I did play a little softball.
Right.
No, but all of that to say, man, as the body is deteriorating, right, the new man, the soul, right, our heart, we can actually be increasing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is a beautiful idea that you could and should be getting better. But if you're just dealing with behavior and trying to stop doing things or start doing things, now your wills matter, and the fact is they're compromised by this wounding. So
wait 1 second, because
I
had to take a drink before that.
I want to get into the Martian child and breaking the agreement.
Oh, absolutely,
so
absolutely. But when you said the behavior thing, I had to apologize to my son Stephen last episode. I'll do it again this episode because I parented him for behavior. I was parenting him for the proper behavior that I wanted, rather than parenting his character for years.
Compliance is not the same as compassion.
No, man.
And
sorry,
care.
Stephen.
And if here, let me sign that too, because I've got 3 of my own that I am very aware of how I aided and supplied the enemy with way too much ammo to be a dad that wasn't safe for a young heart.
Yeah.
And so, back to you've just been set in the middle. It's like one of those time travelers. They're just plopped into a space, and there's a war going on, and you're wearing khakis and a golf shirt. I mean, what is going on?
Oh man,
And so you better find a foxhole, get in it, and then get busy getting trained in this space. So
I just had a memory come to mind. So we're in church. Like one of the few times I went to church before I became a Christian. Sherry had started going to church and taking Stephen to church, and so I'm like, okay, I'll go. So we're in church. Stephen's probably, I don't know, 6, 7 years old, something like that. And it's a Methodist church in New England with the hard wooden pews and like worst scenario for a 6-year-old boy.
Cushion, burgundy.
Yeah, worst scenario for a 6-year-old boy, and he's fidgety. He's goofing around and starting to climb around and stuff like that. And it's middle of the sermon, so I just pinch him. Dad, why'd you do that, Dad? I mean, oh my gosh, like at the top of his lungs. So I just scoop him up and we're out of there, But talk about an embarrassing moment that really revealed that I was just trying to get him to do what I wanted him to do, rather than be a 6-year-old boy. Where I could have said, hey, you know what, Sherry, Stephen and I are going outside. He's getting a little fidgy, and let him run around on the lawn or whatever, and
it not really be about you,
right?
It not have to be.
No, it'd be about him.
I know,
setting him free
versus this kid's embarrassing me, and
yes,
whose kid is this? And,
exactly.
All of that. So,
geez, sorry, Stephen.
Yeah.
Gosh,
that may be a subtitle of this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Stephen.
Sorry, kids.
And we say that because fathers matter. They're so central to this, and father wounding is probably one of the greatest ways the enemy works to bring that compromise, bring that through that wounding. Whether it's aggressive fathers or passive fathers or both. Most dads have struck in both ways the hearts of their kids, but there's so much more to talk about on that. But let's get to. I want to get back to your algebra.
Yeah,
because
Legality.
I think you're really on to the kind of the simplification of a very difficult subject in reality, and yet we need some simplicity sometimes to understand. The theories of spiritual relativity,
right?
And so this healing idea. Yeah, where'd somebody start? What's that look like?
I think one of the best ways to show it is to just give an example. And then I think what we can do is, I think in the comment section or in the description, we can put this kind of this algebra with the blank spaces.
The prayer.
So that people can fill in their own information.
Yeah.
But I'll just give the example that, when I was a kid, I've talked about this on the podcast before. When I was a kid, I made this agreement that I had to be helpful. I had to be needed in order to arrange for love. And there's lots of different reasons for that. But just for the sake of time, I'll just say that was the agreement I made, that if I can be helpful or needed, fulfilling some kind of a role, then I can earn love that way. I can arrange for love. So that leads to the vow. The vow is I'll always be helpful and needed. I'll never be unheard and unseen. I will make sure that I can always arrange for love that way because it's not being given to me.
Yeah.
Right? So basically what you do is, and the wound is, that I'm unheard and I'm unseen. Okay. Yeah. That I'm uncared for, that I'm unlovable. So what we do is we take the algebra of it. Jesus, I turn from the vow that I will always be helpful and needed, never unheard and unseen. So there's the vow, right? I'll always be helpful and needed. I'll never be unheard and unseen. And I turn now from the agreement that if I'm being helpful and needed, I can earn love through doing for others. So my agreement is I have to be helpful and needed in order to get love, to receive love. Yep. Okay, and I unsubscribe, renounce, and repent from believing that I can earn love through doing, being needed, being useful, helpful to others. Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's the prayer. Like writing that out, writing that down, and what we'll do is we'll put both examples. We'll put my example, and then we'll put the one with the blanks in it in the description. Okay. Yeah. But you have to do, like we talked about in the last episode, you have to do the work to figure out what your wound is, what your agreement is, and what your vow is.
Right.
So that then you can fill out this equation and
you
repent from it.
And you may not need a convenience store to get there.
Right.
To invite you into it. I mean, I think most of the men, when we start this process, they know. They go right to some of the places, where
they can think of their most wounding moment, whether it was, like in the kid, the dad grabbing you by the arms or what it was. And then, you can figure it out from there. Kind of that leads to, dad's not safe. I can't talk to dad. That means I'm on my own. I mean, whatever it is, right?
What I really like about this process that we're offering and the way you explained it is, friends, you gotta understand that the wounding moment happened in time. It happened on your timeline. It was an event. It was eventful, and it may have, in some cases, it may have happened in a second, and then, even carried on for an hour, for days. I mean, it's but that impression, that neural pathway, that file that was filed literally in your heart, became part of your way of arranging or protecting or providing for yourself. It's teaching you something. And if it's a lie,
because you're on your own.
And if it's a lie about you or about God or about others, if it's a lie, then that's what we're talking about. That's going to be impeding. That's going to be obscuring. That's going to be hurtful to you and to others when you believe a lie and give that lie authority in your life. So let's go back to the 2 realms, 2 kingdoms. Jesus called him the father of lies.
Right.
And, you may have dozens, if not hundreds, maybe thousands of wounding moments. But pretty soon they all start moving. They all start kind of draining into a couple tributaries, into a couple channels, into a couple spaces.
Yeah, all of these feeder streams come into this one main, maybe two.
So the stuff that happens in your 15 and then in your 20, then you start operating that way as if you could help it. You can't. That's why I think about death to the autopilot.
Yeah.
But
got to have your hands on the controls.
You have to be able to get some of that back, because your will's compromised. So that's when. So you said unsubscribe. You said repent. You said what was the other word? Renounce. So why?
Renouncing is a pretty legal word.
Okay, that's right. Why does that matter in this legal space of? It'd be one thing to call them accidents, but they're not accidents. If they're the kingdom of darkness working against you through others. Okay, so it's not just an accident.
Right. Yeah. If every thought is not your own, then chances are a thought has been placed in your head that has affirmed and strengthened the agreements and vows you've made based on the wounds that happened to you.
Yeah. And so
and it happens, like you said, it happens over and over and over again until it becomes cemented in your mind.
Let me use a crazy ass example.
Okay.
Hitler Youth.
Oh man. Okay. We just went to 10. Yeah. But you're right.
Or skinheads, Nazism.
Whatever.
I mean, when you start to be trained by, let's say, your parents in this way for the Führer.
Yeah.
And you're sent to these
from 5 years old. Yeah.
So, okay, if that's the extreme, you want to tell me for a second that we weren't brainwashed somewhere along the way?
Sure.
With attitudes and beliefs.
You talked about it with your science teacher last episode. Yeah.
So these wounds, vows, and agreements have power.
Yeah.
They affect, they infect, and I think that's why
they have authority.
The legality is so critical. Of if that happened in a moment, then we're going to God to make another moment.
Yeah.
To bring to light something that happened and has operated in and through darkness. And and so that's the healing. That's what healing looks like. And if you talk about David and Dennis for a minute, I think you can kind of put a big exclamation point on the legality of breaking the agreement, breaking the vow,
yeah, man,
and breaking the power of the wounded message over you.
Yeah, I love you're talking about David and Dennis from the movie Martian Child.
Highly
which
recommend
I think came
it.
out like, I don't know, 15 years, 2007
Cable
or
have to
something.
flash a Martian Child.
Something. Yeah, Martian Child. John Cusack is David, and he's a science fiction writer.
Right.
Yeah, he's an author, right. And he's working on a book, and his wife has passed away, and it's just him and his dog. And somebody puts it in his head, one of his friends, that maybe it's a good idea to adopt a kid. So he goes.
Well, remember he had lost his wife.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was looking at my paper.
It's okay. So yeah, he's alone. It's him and his dog. Somewhere, I think was the name of the dog. And then Dennis renames the dog. But
Flomar.
Yeah, which is so. Dennis is a little kid who's probably 8.
Yeah.
And his parents have abandoned him, and he, in order to cope with the abandonment, he's made up this idea, this story to survive, that he must be from another planet.
Yeah.
If he's not wanted, he must be an alien. So he's made up this story that he's a Martian, come here to investigate other humans, And Dennis finds him, goes and meets him, and when he first meets him, he's in a box. And John Cusack's sister
is in it.
She's in a lot of films with him, and she's in this one too. And she's his sister in this movie. And she says, boy in a box, that's a giant red flag.
Like only Joan Cusack.
You probably don't want to adopt a boy in a box,
Yeah.
But David is intrigued with Dennis, and so they show this clip, and Dennis is inside the box.
He's brought him home.
That one. That before that, and David just is throwing the ball to him, and he's in the box. You can't even see Dennis back in the box.
Little rubber playground ball.
Yeah, and he's just throwing it in there and coming back. He throws it back out, and it's going back. And David gets clever with it to draw him out of the box, and kind of it goes off to the side. And I just love it because Dennis comes into the light, and David says, "Oh, there you are. It's nice to meet you." And I can't not think about in that moment our younger selves. The little kid that got wounded, that's way packed away in the darkness. We put him away, lock him up in a box, in our hearts, which we haven't talked about, but I've been thinking about the whole time. When we get wounded and we live under these vows and agreements, our hearts are closed off.
Yeah.
And many times what happens is we close off our younger selves to protect them, and to keep them from getting hurt again. So anyway, Dennis comes out of the box, ends up David adopts him, and they're at the house, and David is working on his computer. He's writing, and Dennis comes in and takes a Polaroid picture of him, startles him, and he breaks something and stands up like, "You got to put the camera away." And all of Dennis's vows and agreements come out in that scene. Like, you're going to leave me, you're going to send me back, you're going to send me away.
Yeah.
All of that comes out of him. And David just so beautifully, we've talked about modern day parables. We took this clip and used it at our last encounter weekend. He just shares the voice of the Father and said, "Dennis, this is just stuff. There's nothing you can do to change how I feel about you.
Right.
I don't care about this stuff." And he takes it and he breaks another piece
off his desk.
David picks something, bam. And so Dennis kind of tentatively goes over and picks up a piece and says, just drops it, and he goes, "Break it like you mean it."
It doesn't break.
Yeah.
It just kind of goes thud.
So David says, "Break it like you mean it." And he starts breaking these things. So now cut to they're in the kitchen. And
they're almost playing a Looney Tunes. Yes, did you notice that? I noticed that before when I saw you play that clip.
It's just this like madcap music, So David's handing Dennis the plates, and he's smashing them, and so he's really effectively, Dennis is breaking the plates, but he's breaking the agreement that people leave. that I'm not worth it, that people go.
And a trust is starting to establish between this guy's different.
Yeah. So it's really, I love the movie. It's worth a watch, but worth a rent. But the point is, it's in order for Dennis to be free from what happened to him, his parents abandoning him, and I think he had been in multiple foster homes.
Yeah.
In order to break free from that agreement, he had to break these vows and agreements, and it doesn't really happen fully. Spoiler alert! Until towards the end of the movie,
it takes it's a process to accomplish.
Yeah.
But
it's a great point because you can do this algebra and still have to do it again.
Yeah.
And have to do it again
in another situation and another place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as it comes to the end, David's voice to Dennis when the real breakthrough happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's little breakthroughs,
mm-hmm.
but when it comes to the end, it's about the Father is good, and he can trust him.
Mm-hmm.
And that step in that direction is both gloriously freeing.
Oh man!
And just seconds before, nervously painful.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're getting ready to get a shot. Oh, you've been at the dentist
recently. Yeah. So I know.
I mean, you just start. They start. You hear,
and they put that topical anesthetic on the little stick in your mouth when it's got that bubble gum taste.
Oh man, and you just
shout out to Sunrise Dental here in Durham though, because they are the best I've ever experienced. Man, they're so great, Dr. Hansen. Yeah.
So. I had my teeth cleaned just recently there.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, because I'm like the Pied Piper for Sunrise.
So
Dental
what you do not want to hear, your dental hygienist say when you open your mouth is, "Oh,
that happened."
Yeah, and she's so nice. So she stuck a honey on there. Oh, honey.
I know who you're talking about.
I think I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
She said this may take a minute. So we're gonna bring out the heavy equipment.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Angle grinders and
all of that.
Yeah.
All right. So back to the dentist and Martian Child. It's a beautiful story. And I remember hearing Graham Cook say this in one of his soaking, how he can be prophetic in ways, kind of being the voice, acting as the voice of the Father or of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus is saying to us, I don't see what's wrong with you. I see what's missing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a great thing.
I don't see what's wrong with you. I see what's missing. Mm-hmm. And I want, if you'll let me, I want to replace belief.
Yeah, that's what redemption means.
That belief in
lie.
lie.
You trade in something for something else.
With the truth of how I see you, how I feel about you, who you are to me. So many things that can happen transactionally. Back to the legality, that a transaction of, would you believe me if I told you how I see you?
Yeah.
Because if you believe the lies, right? Well, let's go to the scriptures. You will know the truth. You'll believe the truth, and it's supposed to set you free.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that exchange policy in the kingdom that the Father, Son, Holy Spirit all take turns at the desk, take turns in the operating room, take turns in those spaces that oh, we can take care of this. I'm so glad you're here.
Right. They never push it back with the denied stamp on it. Right. You know?
Come back tomorrow.
Yeah. Never happens.
We're closed.
Right.
So I really think that, if this just kind of tips people off to this idea of healing, I mean, we put it in Search and Rescue. We put it in The Heart of a Warrior. We put it in King Me. We can't not put this process. And honestly, SJ, we could talk about it so much more. We can't even put it in a box.
Mm-hmm.
Like what he will do, what lengths he will go to.
Yep.
To enforce, right, his desire for your freedom.
Mm-hmm.
If you'll play along with that, if you'll partner with him in that, if you will submit.
Yep.
right? Those forms you're filling out in the doctor's office.
Oh, dude, when the chair's going back.
It's a submission form.
Yes.
It's a submission form
Yeah.
to payment,
Yeah.
to not suing, to,
Right.
to, hey,
to treatment.
Sometimes we do the wrong tooth. You
Yeah.
won't come. I mean, come on. It's a submission. You're submitting to this process. And I can't think of a better thing in the kingdom, because it's going to be very difficult for God to entrust you with more if you're not capable of handling the more. And when your will is compromised, you're not capable.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to Psalm 139, right? This is really the prayer of that contrite heart, of that willing heart that says, when David says, "Search me thoroughly, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there is any hurtful or wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." Psalm 139, 23.
Yeah, that's the entry form. That's the submission form.
That is the entry form. Well said. Well said. So,
Yeah.
There's more. I want to say, what is that? Gilderoy Lockhart in for my complete work, body of works kind of thing.
So ridiculous.
In the bookstore. But I think the more that we are there is more on this subject. There's more podcasts on it. But I do think I'm excited. Maybe proud's a strong word in some ways. But when I think about King Me, and I think about that whole section on healing, the healing of a king.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, several chapters.
Mm-hmm.
We spent 30 minutes talking about it, but I can't recommend. If you don't want to buy the book and you're watching the podcast, hey, I just want those chapters. Just email us.
Right.
And I'll send you those chapters of more healing stories, how healing works. And do not deny yourself treatment.
Yeah.
Go see him.
Yeah. I love this one. Psalm 34:18 in the Message. If your heart is broken, you'll find God right there. If you're kicked in the gut, he'll help you catch your breath.
He'll hold you. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. But the point is, he'll do that, right? But you don't have to keep getting kicked in the gut.
Right. Very difficult to get healing if you stay in a wounding environment or wounding relationship. Mm-hmm. So that's a hard one to end on. But at the same time, what is it to advocate for yourself and for safety, for healthiness, and back to the wounds, vows, and agreements. There's forces at work that want to tell you don't deserve better. You don't deserve different. You're not healed. You're not.
You did that algebra, but you're not healed.
So this is a bit of the it's not the dance. This is a bit of the of sword play.
Yeah.
And learning how. Wait, I got a sword. Yeah, you do, and you need to learn how to wield it because for the healing, you're going to have to fight for it sometimes.
Right.
It just doesn't come rolling in.
Right.
And so. Yeah, lots.
Yeah.
So King Me, get a copy of King Me.
Absolutely.
And explore more there.
Absolutely. I think we ought to continue the conversation about healing, actually, maybe a couple more episodes, because I know you've got a lot to say about not just the heart of the Father, but the Father's voice.
Yeah.
And how do you hear the Father's voice and how crucial that is, Yeah. And maybe we'll even see if Tom can come in.
Yeah.
It's been a while since he's been on the podcast.
Yeah, we can set him up on a
talk a little bit about forgiveness or
So we
some
can
of that.
I'm in. I don't think we've done it full justice, but I think we've done it. We've honored the process of healing.
For sure.
And going back to Luke 4 and Isaiah 61, I came to heal the brokenhearted, sight for the blind, free the captives.
Mm-hmm.
And heal their heart, heal the brokenhearted, right? So I think, I'm in. I'd love to talk more about it. So
be good.
Consider this part 2 of We'll See.
We'll see.
We'll see.
As is often the case. Hey, I want to say too, since the beginning of Exploring More, Serena and Brooke have been our engineers and editors, and they've done a great job making us sound good and editing out our I just had a drink of water noises and all that stuff. Well, Brooke is actually moving into a different space career-wise. So this may be one of the last episodes that Brooke edits on. So we want to say thank you, Brooke.
Thank you, Brooke.
Yeah, you've done a great job. And wish you best in what's next for you. But Serena's sticking with us. So we'll have somebody that can edit the podcast. So,
this is going into the freezer. Yeah, and we'll see.
But thanks a lot, Brooke. You did a great job.
Yeah,
and
for a few years. Yeah,
absolutely,
beautiful.
I think 2018.
She says she has a blooper reel that I'm pretty afraid of.
Yeah.
That somehow, some way, we have to get our hands on that.
Yeah, we call it Brooks bloopers.
Get it off
something.
the server.
Yeah. I don't know where that is, so they're keeping it. They're hiding
healing
it
from
us.
The publication of the blooper reel.
It'd be fun.
Yeah,
it'd be fun.
Yeah. So
all right. So leave us a comment, subscribe, like all that stuff that you know about. Share the podcast because it helps us to be found. Thank you so much for listening and watching.
Yeah, we'll see you next time on the Exploring More podcast.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Exploring More. The landing page for this podcast is zoweh.org/podcast. That's ZOWEH.org/podcast, where you can find the show notes and various platforms to which we broadcast. You can also find us and the Life of More by visiting Zoweh on YouVersion Bible app, Right Now Media, our Facebook page, and Zoweh on Instagram and Twitter. Remember, with God there is always more, and you were made for more.